Hello, IARC 311. I hope everybody is well. In today's tutorial, we are going to explore the modeling tools within the family editor and create some basic objects. This exercise is going to continue to hone your drafting skills, as many of the drafting functions you learned from the previous exercise will carry over. In modeling Revit families, we need to change our mindset of how we create 3D objects and elements by performing many of the modeling tasks in a 2D environment. This allows for greater accuracy and less room for error. To begin, we're going to select New under the Families Models category on the Revit homepage. When the Family Template File window opens, navigate to Generic Model. Select this. In the project browser, make sure that you've got reference level selected. This is a plan view, and it's going to be considered our level 1 when we insert this family into a project. So it's equivalent to 0 feet 0 inches, or your finished floor level at level 1, or 0 feet at sea level. In the taskbar, select Create. And now select the Extrusion tool. This should enact the Family Editor function. So all of your modify tools and drafting tools that you used in your first exercise should come up and be familiar. In the modeling space, anywhere, draw a 2 feet by 2 feet rectangle. Could also be a square. In the Properties browser, under Extrusion Start, ensure that reads 0 feet 0 inches. Under Extrusion In, change that 1 foot to 2 feet. In your Properties browser, whenever you make an edit, it won't apply to your model until your mouse arrow swings into your model space, as it just did there. Now navigate to the ribbon and select the green checkbox. Let's open a 3D view. You should now see a 2 by 2 cube in your model space 3D view. Let's go back to our reference level under the project browser under floor plans. Now, let's draw a blend. Under the Create tab, let's select the Blend tool. Anywhere to the right of the cube that we just created, we're going to draw our first profile. Here in the ribbon, it says Edit Top under the Mode function. That's because we don't have the top selected and we're editing the bottom of the blend. The Blend tool takes 2 different shapes and merges them into one shape. For the bottom profile, we're going to select our Circle drafting tool. And again, to the right of that cube, we're going to draw a 1 foot radius circle. Now back in the ribbon, we're going to select that Edit Top function under the Mode tab. Again, we're going to select the circle drafting tool, and we should snap to the center of that circle automatically. Here we're going to draw a 6-inch radius circle and click. So we should now have two circles, one that's our base and one that's our top. Once we have those both drawn, we're going to go back up to our ribbon and click that green checkbox. Let's navigate over to the Properties browser again, and under Second End, where it says 1 foot, we're going to change that dimension to 2 feet. Again, it won't affect our model until I swing my mouse cursor into the project model space. Now let's go back to that 3D view. We should have a cone or a tapered cylinder that we've just created beside our cube. Here's a quick tip. To orbit in your 3D views in Revit, all you have to do, instead of using the orbit cube, which can be cumbersome, is in model space, hold Shift down and push your roller on your mouse down, and you can orbit the entire project. If you select an element and do the same thing, it will orbit around that object as its axis. Cool. Now, instead of going back to reference level 1, let's choose our front elevation. Let's pull this reference level out of the way so we can see a little better. In the taskbar, let's select Create. And now we're going to create a revolve. The revolve allows us to create non-right-angled shapes and revolve them around an axis. The first thing we're going to do is draw a boundary line for the shape that we're going to create. Now in this instance, you have to think of that shape in a half. So we're going to draw a half moon shape to create a sphere. So starting at reference level 1, we're going to draw to the right of our cylinder and our cube a 1 foot vertical line. Now let's select our 3-point arc tool, and at the bottom point of that line, we're going to select, then go to the top of that other vertical line and select again, and pull out to a 6-inch radius. Revit will automatically snap to when that arc is at the perfect radius to complete a circle. Click and hit Escape. Now back up in the ribbon, let's select Axis Line. And following that vertical line from the bottom point to an arbitrary number, this dimension does not matter, it just matters where the axis is, not how tall or long. And we want that to be dead center of our half moon. So when we click into space, our axis shows up as a blue line. That's what this revolve shape is going to rotate around. Now let's click that green checkbox in the ribbon and navigate back to our 3D view where we should see 3 objects: a cube, a cone or a tapered cylinder, and now a sphere. Let's choose Visual Style and select Shaded. so that we can start putting some dimension and shadow to these different objects. Now we're going to stay in this 3D view. This time we're going to learn two different components. Under the Create tab, we're going to select the Void Forms tool. In the drop-down, we're going to create a void sweep. Sweeps are elements that follow a path and use a profile on that path to create elements or objects. When we select Void Sweep, we're going to remove portions of one of the objects that we've just created. So on this cube, we're going to remove part of the top edge in one move. We're going to select Pick Path. This allows us to pick edges that we want to create as our path in a 3D view. Let's hover over the top line on that top plane of the cube. You can see that it turns blue as I've got it selected. Once I click, I've got a pink line that comes into place and a green dashed square with an XY axis centered at the center point of that line I just selected. Sweeps are great because they can follow any path and you can draw them on any plane. You'll see that in just a second. Now let's finish selecting all the edges of the top portion of that cube and click the green checkbox. You can see that our plane and center point still remain. That's going to be where we draw our profile. Let's go back up to our taskbar and select Modify Sweep. In the Sweep tools, we're going to select Edit Profile. This will allow us to custom draw any profile that we want taken away on the path of that sweep. Now, starting from the center point of the XY axis on the interior of the cube, we're going to draw a 6" by 6" square. Now that I've got my profile drawn, I'm going to orbit around so you can see how it's being drawn on that single plane of the first line we selected as our path. Now we're going to select the green checkbox to close out our profile editor and select the Modify Sweep tab to close out our sweep. Once we select our Modify tool, the sweep should cut away the material that we drew with the profile along the path we selected. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys have a good week. I look forward to seeing you again in class.